John's having a difficult time because he's on his iPad, or he's on an iPad right now, so he's wrestling with the settings.
Hey, listen, I can't say anything. I've had my fair share of technical difficulties.
That is true. Well, this is a situation.
Is it an interesting situation?
Well, I mean, I guess it counts because we got two Johns in here right now, and one of them's actually good looking. I don't know what's going on with this guy who's quiet right now, but he's actually a handsome fella. Just don't talk directly into it. Talk past it.
Fine,
I'm just saying, you could do that. You don't have to do it.
Give me a logo I got to put on here.
That thing is pretty chewed up already.
Yeah, bro.
What happened?
You chewing on it?
What do you mean can see it? How could you not see it? It looks like one of those foam balls in gym class you played dodgeball with.
Yeah, I woke up one night.
Back in the day, when you went to gym class and like the top of the football looked like someone like bit off of it. Like
that's what I'm saying, dude. That's what it looks like. Well, who did that?
What had happened was I woke up one night and I go out there in the morning and there's all pieces on the floor. One of the cats got to them little things. We gotta find a home.
Bro, first of all, bless you, John, and bless you, Anthony, because I'll tell you what, those cats, bro. I mean.
Oh no, bro.
Yeah.
Super Bowl week on the Always Sunday Football Podcast. It's finally here, fellas. Championship Sunday, the big game, as they say. I'm Dave. I'm joined as I am every week of the regular and postseason and the off season by Jonny. How you doing, John?
Doing well.
Yeah, John, get some sleep, buddy. You look like you could use a nap. Anthony, how you doing, bro?
I'm not too bad. I mean, I could use a nap too. I'm always down for naps. Yeah,
naps really are the greatest. But if there was only one nap and we had to split it 3 ways between us, I'd give my part to John. I'd stay up. I love a nap, but John, you can have my part of the nap. I'll take your part of the watch. You have my part of the nap.
But the video quality is better right now. I stepped it up.
Better. Oh my God, much better. Now all you need is just a little bit more light on you, and you're golden. You look like Anthony does. Like Anthony looks great now. He looks a million times better than he used to. He used to look like absolute shit. My God. Fellas, it's the Super Bowl. But before we break down the Super Bowl, what do you say we just take a quick look back at the 2 games that took place in the conference championship, huh? Did you guys enjoy the round of football that we saw?
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a lot to say.
Which was your? Yeah, I know. It's like I got goosebumps. John, which was your favorite of the 2 games that you watched?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's the AFC Championship game. I thought that it was extremely competitive. The NFC Championship game was actually a big disappointment. I was looking forward to both of these matchups. I mean, I think that the last time we were sitting up here, we were really excited about like, man, the NFC and the AFC Championship, these are the teams we want there. And the NFC Championship game was an absolute disappointment, really unfortunate. And I really enjoyed the AFC Championship. It lived up to the hype for sure.
Well, I know you like what you saw for the Eagles because of other situations, but yeah, that game wasn't, out of all the playoff games, they've all been really great. So I guess, most of them have been pretty good. You're going to expect one. It wasn't too competitive of a game. It's unfortunate. San Francisco, just an amazing team. They went at it with their 3rd string quarterback who held his own and throughout the season actually held down better numbers than the 1st and 2nd guy. So let's see what they do next year in that quarterback position because it'd be very interesting to see. But yeah, that Chiefs-Bengals game was the better one. Little things they might say right there, right? Little couple wild calls, might say.
Oh no, you are absolutely wrong about that, Anthony. Sorry to interrupt about that, but actually, these games are really interesting. Although that I was disappointed in the results on the game, when you're actually watching and paying attention to the game, there's a couple of things that kind of happened there. Number one, if you really want me to break down the NFC.
Break it down, John.
You talking about NFC Championship game, John?
NFC Championship game.
All right, so let's talk about that one first. I was actually going to talk about that because it seemed like it was going to be a little bit of a shorter conversation, but now maybe not. Depends. John sounds like he's got some lukewarm to medium warm takes, some medium well, maybe to.
Yeah, I'm going to say three things about that game. I'm going to go down my list. I have 3 key points.
Interesting. I want to say one key thing about this game real quick, and that was the final score, which was Eagles 31, San Francisco 7. And the key note, just to make everyone who didn't know aware, is that after 4 pass attempts, he went 4 for 4, and then Brock Purdy suffered a UCL injury. He needs Tommy John surgery. So they had to go to their backup quarterback, who they had to sign. His name is Josh Johnson. We know Josh Johnson.
Yes.
Everybody knows Josh Johnson. He's been in the league for 1 billion years, and that's not going to get it done in the NFC Championship game. John, the floor is yours.
So I would say my third point would be, and what I was most impressed about was, although Jalen Hurts did not have a good game, let's call it how it is. He really didn't have a good game, but he didn't lose the game. And I think that's the most important thing. That was probably the best defense he's going to see all year round. And he didn't crap himself. He didn't play Jalen Hurts football, but he did enough and managed the game enough that this was a blowout, that you knew he wasn't going to lose the game. So I got to give number 3 is that Jalen Hurts, although that was his toughest defense, and but he didn't shit the bed, so to speak. So I would say that would be my third point, is that Jalen Hurts actually impressed me. I thought that he would pull what he pulled in Alabama, which eventually he got benched in the national championship game for Tua, if you remember a couple of years ago.
I mean, that's a long time ago. You know, it's tough. It's tough holding that thing. It's tough like that. Stuff like that against a kid who's in college. He may have not grown. I mean, it took him a couple of years in the NFL to grow into his role and grow into the moment. So, I mean, I'm not going to go. So what's number 2, John?
Number 2 would be the Eagles defense. I thought the Eagles defense did enough to really impress me. I'm to the point with the Eagles defense that I'm going to say that all fronts of defenses, I was saying the 49ers were for the best defense. No, I'm going to say that the Eagles defense really came out and showed out that game. They did enough to knock out, as you mentioned before, Brock Purdy, Josh Johnson. I mean, that defense was just amazing and just doing a wonderful job on that. So kudos to them. And then the defensive line, give them really credit. I mean,
I think they had the most sacks as a defensive line of any defensive line in the NFL history this year. I think they set the record as a defensive line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And the 49ers offensive line is one of the best in football. So, and for them to do what they did that game, I got to give kudos to number 2, the defense. But my number 1 takeaway from that game
Let's hear it.
The offensive line from the Philadelphia Eagles. I got to give it to them. I saw in the first 3 or 4 minutes where the offensive line was just pushing that defensive line like a couple yards out, and you just saw the Eagles running at will. And that to me was probably the most impressive thing, was the offensive line making a way, and the Eagles ran. I mean, they made the 49ers defense look old. That eventually in that game, Fred Warner just looked like he couldn't. You have to think about the 49ers defense this year held Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I'm thinking about like the highest score all year was against Patrick Mahomes. I think they only scored like 20 points, and what the Eagles did to them was just annihilate. It was just like now I'm not going to take away the 49ers defense. They played a good game, but I was just so impressed by the Eagles offensive line and how the Eagles just figured out ways of how to run the football efficiently. And that was just my biggest takeaway of the NFC Championship, which is going to be really important against the Kansas City Chiefs, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Well, like you said, when you lose your third string quarterback in the NFC Championship game, and you're going 4th string, or hey, who's this guy? That changes tempo of the game. So it's their plays aren't producing as well as guys just coming in off the fucking street, and these guys, like, that's all they had to do. Like Hurts threw the ball 25 times. He was like 14 for 25 for like 100 and something, 70 something yards. He ran 11 times and there was 4 rushing touchdowns. That's all they had to do because the other side couldn't produce the ball at all. They couldn't get anything going, understandably, and the defense can only do so much. And then all you got to do is run the ball down their throat at some point. There's 4 different runners at a touchdown. So, I mean, yeah, the Eagles played well, but it's just that you would have wanted a little and should have gotten a little more out of it. It was a less exciting game, but it is what it is. Eagles. I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles, but I would have loved to see that game in a different scenario.
It's statistics time, fellas. Here's the truth of this game: is that the Eagles only totaled as an offense 269 yards of offense. 269. Okay. Jalen Hurts, as Anthony mentioned, was 15 of 25 for 121, and as John mentioned, did not look good in the process of doing that. He didn't really look that good. The most rushing yards by any running back was 48 by Kenneth Gainwell, who averaged 3.4 yards per carry, which isn't great. The highest average yards per carry was 3.8 by Miles Sanders, who rushed for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hurts had 1. Boston Scott had 1. Nobody really ran anything down anybody's throats. It was a bad performance by the Eagles offense, as John mentioned, against the best defense that they're going to face. It was a bad performance against Jalen Hurts in that same situation. But the thing is, they had such short fields that they had to work with because Purdy was out almost immediately, and Josh Johnson couldn't do anything against the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense played well. The Eagles didn't have to gain any yards to score those touchdowns. They gained less than 300 total yards they're less than 270 total yards as an entire offense. They did not play well in this game. And John's point, the one thing I wanted to talk about is although they blew him out and all this other stuff, and I think a lot of that had to do with Purdy's injury, I really would have loved to see Purdy get a chance to play in that game. I think it would have been a lot closer than 31-7. I still think the Eagles win, but San Francisco gets at least 20 points in this game. But the offensive line for the Eagles got, in my opinion, beat more than not by the San Francisco defense. They got to Hurts. They got to the running backs. They didn't give up big, explosive rushing plays. They didn't really get pushed around that much. They just had tough positions that they were put in by their offense. And so to me, and we'll talk about it in the Super Bowl breakdown, Chris Jones is going to be a problem for that offensive line, guys. Just like he was a problem in the Cincinnati game, which we'll get to right now, Chris Jones is going to be a problem for that offensive line. And if Jalen Hurts doesn't play much, much better than he did, they're going to have a problem because Kansas City is going to score points. Kansas City is not going to not score points here. There's no Brock Purdy, and now that, Mahomes has 2 weeks to prepare and, get right. Eagles win this game convincingly in the scoreboard, but I wasn't, super confident coming out of this game that the Eagles were in like their prime, shape right now. So let's talk about the other game, and that is the AFC Championship game. And that was, as we alluded to, won by the Chiefs, 23-20, very close score, could have gone either way multiple times in this game. Anthony, did you watch this one?
I watched the second half. It was with the girls. I had to fight for TV time when they're over, So
I gotcha. What was your basic takeaway from this game?
It was everything you wanted, like the juice was there. There was plays in the back and forth and just all you want for a championship game. There was a couple, you saw that. I don't know if you guys saw. You saw a couple controversy tweets. There always is something, couple wild calls, and NFL's rigged, and you see all the the memes and shit. But it was a great game. Great game. But Patrick Mahomes, he does what he does best, and then that's why he's the MVP, in my opinion. The kid's fucking lights out. best quarterback in NFL. And like you said, look what the Niners now. The Niners defense is better than Chiefs defense, but
Yes.
they're not having Patrick Mahomes, coming at them. So it's going to be a great game for this Super Bowl. I would love to just see back and forth action. I would love to see 7-7 at some point because I got that in a $50 box. How last boy, but I won't be greedy. I'll take the half. But that Bengals, it's a shame because the Bengals came on a second half of the season just fucking proud, right? They were just doing whatever they wanted to do to whoever, but this time, Burrow, what was it? 4 times he stopped them? 3 times? 4 times? 3 times.
lifetime games, not in like elimination playoff games. They just knocked them out last year. That's all.
Oh, right. Okay, maybe I read that wrong.
And then they won a couple regular season games, and they also beat them in the playoffs.
So that's nice. You want that little the extra squeeze out of that, right? Getting that win for them. But it was nice to see that game. I actually thought it was going to be a little more scoring than what it was, but I'll take it. It was.
Yeah, again, I have 3 takeaways.
Fire it up.
John's got 3 for 3 takeaways.
Yeah,
my man's brought his note cards.
I'm not going to go in any specific order, but your boy Steve Spagnuolo, I think you should know him. He's your old defensive coordinator.
And
Spaggy.
All right. So number one is that I don't know what's going on with him, but his defenses suck in the beginning of the year, and his defenses over the last 5 or 6 weeks is amazing. I mean, this defense. What I was more impressed about is the defense, and although the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line was decimated by injuries, I mean, and it just really showed, and it's really unfortunate because. Burrow had plenty of opportunities to win this game, and the
41 opportunities.
Yeah, the offensive line couldn't do absolutely nothing for him. Another thing too was Joe Mixon couldn't get anything going, so the run game wasn't going. And the O line was just a huge problem. But I did predict in our last one that Chris Jones was going to be a big factor in this game, and boy, did he show up.
Yep,
and he's one of the best defensive linemen in the game. He's amazing. Another thing too, I'm really impressed about is Steve Spagnuolo, his offensive scheme, how he was able to limit that. Probably, arguably, the best offense in football with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was able to take advantage of that offensive line being decimated. Burrow couldn't get any throws off. In key clutch situations, there were a couple of plays where Burrow made and T. Higgins made that amazing catch. So there were times in the game where Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, Jamar Chase were just doing their thing. But overall, I got to give Steve Spagnuolo and that defense so much credit because in the beginning of the year they were awful. And for them to kind of little by little, they get better and better and better every week. So I'm really interested in seeing how Steve Spagnuolo and that defense go against the Eagles offense. So that's my key takeaway for this game, was I was just really impressed by the defense.
I think the Bengals played bad. Joe Burrow had 41 attempts and only 26 completions. He had 2 interceptions. They were just bad picks. Why they only ran the ball 13 times and passed it 41 against that rush and against that defense and they were so overmatched on that line. Their line was so beat up by injuries and they didn't try to give them any momentum, any push, any kind of, sort of feel good, push them forward. You always hear about the offensive linemen talking about those things. The analysts talk about how just run the ball a little bit, let the guys kind of get in the groove of the game. And Kansas City's run defense isn't exactly their defensive strength. And so for me, I could not understand the play calling in this game because
it's not like you have Joe Mixon back there or anything.
Right. They have Mixon and P. Ryan, and they're both competent backs. And they were, Burrow was obviously struggling. and they still continue to just keep pushing and throwing. And it's not like Jamar Chase got open a bunch of times. T. Higgins got open a bunch of times, but they weren't just running free against the defense like they had been against previous teams. So as John mentioned, the Kansas City defensive scheme worked really well. They were able to get pressure with 4, and one of them was Chris Jones, so he just completely wrecked the game. I really question Zach Taylor and his play calling in this one. Why they didn't try to run the ball more, I'm not really sure, because they had opportunities. Even though with the 2 interceptions and everything else, they still were only down by, they only lost by 3 points. So to me, this kind of a little bit goes on coaching and game management. Burrow played a bad game. And fucking Mahomes did not. He just didn't, and he didn't even run at all, which he normally does. So you could tell he was injured, but he's had 2 weeks to heal up. And now, this week, we see the Kansas City Chiefs face off against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, the big game. The Eagles are favored by 1.5 points with a 50.5 point over under. John, you have a note card on this game? A couple note cards?
Yeah. Ooh, boy, this is gonna be a tough one for me. Man, Super Bowl, like what else are we gonna do here? So number one is I'm gonna go with the over on this game. I just think it's just so easy for this one. There's gonna be a lot of points scored, in my opinion, on it. But I'll take a KC with the points this game. Kansas City this year, I don't know. Like every time I thought that they were out, they somehow figure out a way to win. Yeah, like I don't know what it is. Like this year, I was just one of those guys that I was like, hey, KC this year, like they lost Tyreek Hill. The defense in the beginning of the year wasn't all that great. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but like I was like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. But the reason why I'm going to choose Kansas City this year is I don't know if you've seen – this is probably one of Patrick Mahomes' best offensive lines he's had that I remember. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think this offensive line did a really good job protecting him against the Bengals last week. They gave him enough protection for him to look pretty good. So in my opinion, in past years, Mahomes used to be scrambling and make plays and do what Patrick Mahomes does. But I didn't realize how good that offensive line was until I saw Cincinnati pretty much. They couldn't get to Mahomes like that. So I'm taking KC in this game.
Interesting, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think how do you not take the over? You want the over. It's too high powering scoring offenses. So I'll take the over for sure.
Okay.
And, I'll take the Chiefs. Andy Reid coached both of these teams coming in here, and I think he's going to win the one that he's currently coaching. I think that Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback. I think that they're going to come out on top. I think if they could kind of do a good mixing of getting a little bit of a run game going to break off that pass so Mahomes doesn't have to throw the ball 50 times, but just enough to get the work going, keep Kelsey involved, and somebody besides Kelsey like they just did this week. MVS had a great game where he had over 100 yards. You got to make sure that you can get somebody else besides Kelsey because the Eagles are going to put work in on Kelsey, so you got to be able to get somebody else to score, get you up the field. But give me them Chiefs, boy. Dave, where are you at? I feel like I know where you at. Is it because you have interest financially?
Well, first let me say, screw you guys. Okay.
Hey, I don't want the Eagles to win. You know that. As a Giants fan, you don't want the Eagles to win.
As a Giants fan, of course, I can see how you wouldn't want the Eagles to win, but I thought we were friends. I guess not.
Listen, if it was a tremendous number, I'd give it to you. Okay.
Well, look, it's bigger than the number that I won last year for the Super Bowl. It's more than double that. So I can't complain, number one. Number two, I will take the Eagles and lay in the 1.5 and I will also go with the over. I will not say too much more than that because I don't want to end up jinxing myself in some way. I think the Eagles have been the best team in the NFL all year long. They did not play great last week, as I mentioned. Their defense played pretty well. The offense it made me very nervous. Specifically that offensive line. I mean, the Niners defensive line and pass rush is definitely harder to handle. Hopefully they had a little bit of a wake-up call last week and they are on their shit when they get to the game, because I have a future on the Eagles and I would like that future to pay off. You jerks.
I have one little side note about the Eagles is
Go ahead.
Why does Nick Sirianni hate Miles Sanders for some reason?
Lots of people do. It's one of those things. Like I've kind of wondered that myself, and I looked into it from like a fantasy football perspective and tried to see like what the fantasy football guys that I read are saying about him, and he's like not particularly. He's just like an average back essentially. And to me, like to my eye, Gainwell has a little more juice when he's in there. It seems like it makes sense to me with the offense that they run. They could just leave Gainwell in there for the majority of the time, and then just bring Sanders in for like short yardage situations and goal line and things like that.
Don't forget Boston Scott.
That's the thing. Like Boston Scott seems to be the guy who they're just forcing him in there. Like I don't understand that. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's
they
fun.
really force him in against Giants.
That's for sure. That's like they're basically sort of trolling the Giants at this point every time. But I don't love the 3-back committee, but I understand it because nobody's a stud. However, the balance does not make too much sense to me, for sure. But it doesn't really matter because Jalen Hurts is your best runner of the football, really. Anyway, he's your most dangerous runner because he can actually, throw, but also move the pile, make good decisions, so on and so forth. Can't believe you guys abandoned me at this time. It's the last game. We've been doing this. We've been doing so well all season long, and in the last game of this season, you guys abandoned me. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to send out a showdown lineup to you guys so that we can do a showdown DFS lineup for the big game, and we'll do it that way. We're not going to really go through the spreadsheet through the NFL Playoff Fantasy Invitational because it's more or less a wrap. Danny Mac pretty much took it down. He's got a 50-plus point lead on the next viable challenger, and it just seems like a tremendous long shot. So I'm not going to spend too much time. We don't need to really break that down right now because the real breakdown is going to come next week. If somebody beats him, we're going to need to spend a lot of time talking about that. So we'll table that until next week. Fellas, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most and 1 being the least, how much would you say you know about like the Super Bowl? History of it and stuff.
I would say I know about 5.
A 5, that's right in the middle of the road. Fair enough. Conservative. Anthony?
If John feels 5,
yeah,
I gotta go like 3.5.
3.5 for the history of the Super Bowl. Confidence and knowledge. Wow, you guys, that's not a lot of confidence. Now you've
like what type of details you talk about? Like who won the Super Bowl? Like I know who won like the first 3 Super Bowls. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's not one of the questions, but I will. One of the questions is this, so we'll just get right there. Question number 1 in our Super Bowl trivia quiz contest.
Oh, snap.
What team was the first team to ever repeat as Super Bowl champion?
Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers is correct. John, you're on the board with 1 point.
Yep, Super Bowl 1 and 2.
Anthony, did you know that?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was ringing the bell.
Oh, you were? Okay. And the thing that I realized is that it's not really quite fair to do a first to answer over the internet like this, because one of you guys might have a lag and hear the question after the other person and so on and so forth. Or one of you guys might lag and might answer after the other person. Right. So I'm going to do this. Anthony, your first question.
Oh, shit.
Because I kind of softballed that one right up to John. Your first question is going to be, who was the first AFC team to win the Super Bowl?
Fuck.
I hate you, Anthony.
Why?
I absolutely hate you.
Why?
I just don't like you right now.
Well, your competitors. This is a head-to-head contest, so I could imagine why you would hate him.
Like, I absolutely hate you right now.
That's pretty.
Anthony, we need a number in 3, or I'm sorry, a team in 3.
Oh, Bills?
2.
No, Bills never won. That was terrible guess.
That's a terrible guess. Is right. So we're just going to end it right there. John, tell them what the right answer is.
The New York Jets.
That's right. Super Bowl 3. It was Packers, Jets. It was just the very next Super Bowl, Anthony. I led you right to the answer, and you just completely fumbled it.
That's what I do.
Yes, absolutely terrible.
Oh, Anthony. Oh,
Well, John, of course you would know that one, you Jets fan.
John, let me ask you, who has the highest single game passer rating in Super Bowl history?
Joe Montana.
That is incorrect. Anthony, for the steal, who has the highest single game passer rating in Super Bowl history?
Interesting. I was wrong.
It wasn't Joe Montana?
Single game.
Single game?
Oh, man.
Tom Brady?
Ooh, I'm sorry. The answer is Phil Simms. He had an 88% pass completion in Super Bowl 21. Yes, he was like 19 for 20 passing or something like that, or 19 for 21. It was he was very efficient. They ran the ball a ton, and
that's why.
The answer, yes.
That's a good stat right there.
Well, thank you, John.
Leave it to Dave.
Great stat.
Hey, I appreciate it. That's what makes the game fun, right? That's what makes the game fun. Anthony, I believe it's your turn.
Yeah.
Correct?
Let's hope.
Anthony, who holds the single game record for most touchdown passes thrown in a game? Who holds the record?
In a Super Bowl game?
No, just in any game. Doesn't even have to be football.
What's his name? No.
That's what I'm asking you.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his fucking name.
Can you?
What team did he play for?
Yeah,
Steelers.
The Steelers. So Terry Bradshaw.
Yes.
That is incorrect. John for the steal. Who holds the single game passing touchdown record?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with the same answer. I'm gonna go Joe Montana.
Ooh, close, but that is not correct. Joe Montana is actually in second place. The first place with the most touchdown passes in the Super Bowl in one single game is Steve Young. Remember that guy?
Yes.
That's right. Yes.
That?
They dominated in that game, boy. Whew. The monkey off the back game, remember?
Yes.
John,
I remember that.
John, how many touchdown passes did he throw?
Was it 6?
That is correct. John is now winning 2-0 after like 9 questions. 2-0. Anthony, who holds the record for most receiving touchdowns in a Super Bowl game?
John, I hate your face. All of it.
Even the neck beard.
Oh, Cooper Kupp.
Wow. John for the steal.
John's looking it up right now.
No, I trust you guys not to Google. You enjoy the game so much.
But my thinking is that it was a losing team. He was on the losing end, and I'm gonna say it's T.O.
T.O. Fun answer, incorrect, guys. Steve Young was number 1 in single game passing touchdowns, and Joe Montana was number 2 in passing touchdowns. And neither of you guys guessed Jerry Rice because you're both very, very dumb. Just so dumb. It's stunning. It is truly.
Hey, but he
truly
just threw it
stunning.
to multiple different people.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is T.O.'s got to be up there.
I'll tell you that right now. Actually,
Didn't Cooper
No.
Cup have a record breaking? No, man,
no,
that was
T.O.
a year.
T.O. did not. I think T.O. never scored in that game. I don't think T.O. scored in that game. To be honest with you, because I remember thinking to myself, "Damn, if T.O. just had," because he had an incredible stat line but no touchdown. I remember thinking to myself, if T.O. had only scored, then they would have won the game. I don't know if that's factually correct, but I remember thinking that in my mind. So I'm just going to believe that that's true. So let me ask you this. What's the longest touchdown pass? Wait, whose turn is it? Anthony? No, it's John's.
Yeah.
John, what's the longest touchdown pass ever in Super Bowl history?
This one, I just simply don't know. I'm really drawing blank on this one. I'm going to pass it to Anthony on this one.
Just guess a number, dude. Gosh.
I'm going to say it's 99. 99.
Good guess, incorrect. Anthony?
What did he say?
He said 99.
93.
Sorry, that is incorrect. The answer is 85. The answer is 85 yards. The longest reception is 85 yards.
And who did that?
Okay, well, here's a good question for you guys. Ready? I'm going to do a lightning round, and just the first person to answer wins. The pass was thrown.
Jerry Rice.
No. As soon as I say the last name of the quarterback, you're free to answer. The pass was thrown by Carolina Panthers quarterback Jake Delhomme.
Steve Smith.
That is incorrect. Anthony, for a steal, you need this.
I got nothing.
Wow, John, did you
Please tell me it's not that Carew guy.
Carew?
Yeah, please tell me.
No, it was Muhsin Muhammad.
Like, that's such a dark.
Muhsin Muhammad?
Muhsin Muhammad. The other receiver. Steve Smith was the downfield threat, and he got all the credit. Muhsin Muhammad was the possession guy who was just like super stalwart. He was like, he went out there and just called hella balls. Anthony, when the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, who was the MVP?
Nick Foles?
That is correct. Nice job. Fantastic. John, who was the MVP for the New England Patriots the last time they won the Super Bowl?
Tom Brady.
That is not correct. Anthony, the steal.
Edelman?
It was Edelman. Wow, we're tied up at 2. Incredible. Incredible. The Pittsburgh Steelers won 2 Super Bowls with Ben Roethlisberger. How many Super Bowl MVPs does Ben Roethlisberger have?
0.
That is correct. Fantastic. John, name one of the 2 Pittsburgh Steelers
I know this.
players who won MVPs that year in the Super Bowl. Those years.
Palomado. Wow, whatever.
Troy Polamalu is not correct. Fair answer, but not correct. Anthony, for the steal, do you know one of the answers?
The bus.
That is not correct either. No, the bus retired. It was Santonio Holmes and Hines Ward were the two correct answers.
Oh, I thought it was the bus, man.
It was not. No, he retired after that game. He said the bus stops here. Or something like that. Anthony, who has the career record for most rushing touchdowns in Super Bowl history?
Barry Sanders.
John for the steal. Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders never won a Super Bowl.
I didn't think he won. I don't think he won a Super Bowl, but he just remember being.
I don't know that he ever even played in a Super Bowl.
I'm gonna throw out something from like back in the day. I'm gonna go with Franco Harris.
Franco Harris did hold the title for a while, and he's now currently tied with 2 other more current players. However, Emmitt Smith has the most career rushing touchdowns. I thought Anthony was going to get that one. I was like, oh man, this one might be too easy, but it wasn't. But you guys messed it up. John, you're up, right?
Yep.
How long was the longest rush touchdown?
88 yards.
That is incorrect. Anthony?
76.
Oh, 75 is the correct answer.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no.
Wow. Wow, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. It was done by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anthony, what player scored that touchdown?
Definitely couldn't be the bus. Wow, Le'Veon Bell.
No, I don't think he ever played in the Super Bowl either. John?
I'll go Franco Harris.
Oh, no. Fair answer, but no, it was Willie Parker. Remember Fast Willie?
Yes. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah. You guys are really making a mess of all this.
I was fair with my 3.5.
Yeah, no, and you know something, you were right. John, name two of the winning teams in the 4 years in a row that the Bills lost the Super Bowl.
Oh.
The Cowboys twice. In order?
Doesn't have to be in order, and that counts as one.
Okay. Cowboys, Giants, Redskins.
There you go. Nailed it. You got all three. Ties it up. Anthony, like right before the Bills lost 4 in a row, the Broncos lost 3 out of 4. Name 2 of the teams that the Broncos lost to.
Dallas?
Nope.
Damn.
You're out. John, for the steal.
I want to say the Redskins.
Yes, that's one of them.
Can I say the Giants again?
It was the Giants. Yes, it was the Giants' first Super Bowl with Parcells.
I was thinking, Parcells. I was like,
Well, yeah, I already said Dallas. So
and a fun fact about that, because it is Black History Month, that was the first time that a black quarterback won a Super Bowl.
That is the first time the black quarterback won the Super Bowl. And it was the first time that the black quarterback actually won Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Broncos, they lost to the Giants, the Redskins, and then the Niners twice. And that was the last 2 Niners Super Bowls that ever happened. Who's the most recent black NFL quarterback who won Super Bowl MVP?
Cam Newton?
Excuse me? Cam Newton? No.
Most recent now with Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes would be my answer. I was speaking out loud, but I realized Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is correct. Okay, so Anthony, you're up by 1 point. John, next question goes to you. Everybody knows
The Muffin Man.
that the Patriots have been to more Super Bowls than anybody else. There's 3 teams tied for second place. Name them.
I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
Correct.
And I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh, not correct.
I knew for sure it was the Steelers and the Cowboys.
Okay.
The Giants?
No, it's the Broncos.
The Giants have 4.
The Giants have 5. The Giants have the same amount as the Packers at 5. The Broncos, because the Broncos lost they lost 4 Super Bowls. Then they won 2 with Elway, and then they went to 2 more with Manning. So yeah, they've been there a bunch of times.
Right, Elway should have won more.
Elway, well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that, but I mean, he ran into some pretty historic teams. But yeah, he went to
like 6 Super Bowls.
Anthony, name. There's been 4 starting quarterbacks in Giants Super Bowl history. Name them.
Eli Manning, Phil Simms.
Correct. So far.
I got nothing. I'm drawing blanks.
Yikes. Yikes. John, can you steal this?
I'm going to go with Kerry Collins.
That is
my
correct.
God.
And this would be huge if you get this one. I mean, you should, well, I don't know. Anthony should have known this. But anyway, go ahead, John. This one, every Giants fan should know this name that John hopefully will say.
Man, I'm drawing blank on the last one.
I'm not surprised. It's Jeff Hostetler. Anthony, do you know that name?
God, I would have now guessed that one.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if you would. It's definitely, it's tough. Anthony, do you know the name?
No, I'll be honest and say no.
Jeff Hostetler. Okay, so the Giants won the Super Bowl, as we mentioned earlier, against the Broncos. It was their first Super Bowl win against Elway and the Broncos. Then they went back to the Super Bowl the next time, and they beat the Bills by the field goal that missed. Right, Anthony, 2019?
Right.
And that was Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler was the backup. Sims got injured early, or maybe a third, maybe midway through the season. Like, he didn't get through the, they had to go to the backup early in the season, and Hostetler just came in and kept winning and winning and winning and winning. So he was like Nick Foles before Nick Foles, where Sims had already won a Super Bowl for the team. Sims was injured, had to sit out for the rest of the year, and Hostetler took that team to the championship game. And then that's where they were like, look, we can't score with this Bills team. We have to choke them out and do it another way. And that's what they did. They ran the ball, they drained the clock, they played good defense the whole 9 yards. But Hostetler didn't do, he had a fine game. He didn't do anything great, but he didn't do anything bad. And he won the second Giants Super Bowl, not Phil Simms. And it's crazy.
I'm actually
Giants fan. Like, that's a legend, because I might be wrong about this, but he was the first backup quarterback to win a Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. Like, the first guy who wasn't anybody. He just walks in there and just all right, I'm gonna win the Super Bowl if that's cool with everybody. And if you look at him, he looks like it's hilarious. Just check out Jeff Hostetler when he can. He ended up getting a big deal. He got a big starting contract with the Raiders after that. He didn't really do much, but he played a little bit because he was the backup. Sims was still under contract, so they just traded him for something, and he ended up playing for the Raiders for a while. Yeah, he's a legend, Jeff Hostetler. Put some respect. Okay, so Anthony, you're up by 1 point. John, you have 3 points. Anthony has 4. John, I'm going to ask you a New York Jets related Super Bowl question. In the year that the Jets won the Super Bowl, which was 1968 season, it was a 14-game regular season.
Okay.
What was the Jets' record?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with that they were 10-6.
It was a 14-game schedule. John.
Yeah, okay, 14. I'm sorry. They were 8-6. Sorry.
No, they were not 8-6. 8-6. I don't even know if they would have made the playoffs at 8-6. They were 11-3. Anthony, what was the most points ever scored in a Super Bowl by a team?
$55.
That's correct. Did you know that?
Yeah. No.
You just guessed.
Because I was going to say 56, but I was like, no, the 6 fucked me before. Let me just guess 55.
Wow. Interesting. John, what team did that?
I was gonna say.
If you think about it, you should get this correct. Because
I feel like I'm gonna get this wrong, but whatever. I'm gonna say it's the 49ers.
that is correct. Anthony, when the Niners won it with Steve Young, who did they play against?
Denver?
No, John, you steal?
I'm gonna say it was the Chiefs.
Chargers.
Chargers.
San Diego Chargers. How many Super Bowls has Kansas City won, John?
They've only won one Super Bowl. But they've been to another Super Bowl.
Anthony, for the steal, how many Super Bowls has Kansas City won?
2?
2 is correct. 2 is correct. John, they were in the Super Bowl the year they won the Super Bowl the year after the Jets did. They won Super Bowl 4, and then they just won again with Mahomes.
And they might win again for that Trey.
A couple of years ago, right? Absolutely. So it looks like John is going to lose this game. Otherwise, it'll just go on forever and ever and ever. With a score of 5-4, Anthony, with a lucky guess of 55, ends up pulling out the victory. But I'll say this: you guys do not know your NFL history or your Super Bowl history. I think we can pretty much be sure of that for sure. And guys, have a little respect for the game. That's basically all I can say about it. Just have a little respect for the game.
Shame on
But
me.
yeah, thanks for playing. I hope that we enjoy the game next Sunday. I hope that your picks are very wrong and that the Eagles win so that I can get my monies. I will see you after the Super Bowl, where it's always Sunday.
You got to not be feeling good about this pick with the Eagles.
Well, I mean, they're better. They're a better team.
Yeah,
they are a better team, but I don't feel super confident. No.